What is going on, everybody? William Stuart here alongside me for this episode of the BullShooting Podcast, podcast number 8 already. Mr. Sean Green, a guy we've had alongside us for numerous events already. Looking forward to many, many more. Sir, how's it going?
Buddy, I am so happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me back again on the BullShooters Podcast, BullShooting Podcast, sorry. I like to shoot the bull with you. It's always a good time. Thanks for having me back, man.
Hey, we appreciate you being here. A guy that works or owns a live streaming company with Indie Darts to the Point Streaming. He's a CDC commentator as well as an English teacher. We'll put that out there. So how about that one? Mention the little English teacher for the kiddos that always tune in.
Yeah, man. I always appreciate that. It always scares me though, because then people really expect me to use proper English all the time. I try my best, but I just teach them.
Tough task. We all know that one's a tough one for me as well, but we'll get right into it, buddy. I'm excited for a great episode here as we got so much to talk about. First, we'll start with the BullShooter recap as, man, a lot to talk about here. First off, Alex Spellman, we know, coming out on top, victorious. That must feel nice. We're actually going to play a quick snippet from him here in a little bit. But Randy Fern, Kevin Luke, Joe Cheney, that top 4 going into the ESPN2 event. What did you think about that top 4?
Well, first of all, I hate to point this out, but last time I was on this podcast, I did say watch out for those mostly steel tip players, because those are going to be those guys that tend to rise to the top with that format. And we saw it there. Joe Cheney, Alex Spellman, Kevin Luke, all CDC pros and players. And if you looked at averages, Alex Spellman going into the CDC had the 3rd highest average of anyone on the CDC this year. It has now raised to number 2. The only person that's a little bit shocking that did not make that Final 4 that was also on that list is Soldier. But other than that, Randy Fern, the only real soft tipper who got it done, made the Final 4. He's such a nice guy. I got to interview him at Indiana State this past year, and I know how much that meant to him. But hats off to other guys who competed. And Alex Spellman, fantastic job getting it done. That under that pressure, that had to be pretty cool.
Yeah, you almost could see him in the production, kind of just sitting there shaking just a little bit. He'll mention that here in our interview as well. But yeah, I mean, it was production wise. I was really kind of questioning. We both were. We were kind of questioning what it could be, and we were kind of hoping, hey, hopefully they do this, guys, do this thing right and show off our sport in the right way. I think we achieved that. I think we really did.
Yeah.
I think ESPN and BullShooter did a really fine job of getting that. Of course, there are some bad things that we could point out. There are great things that we could point out, and we'll do that. But I mean, the production it was there. It was top notch.
It was one of those things. I was with you actually when we first started watching it, and I think we both went or said at the same time, the production looks more TV ready. And it was great to see that. It was a nervous thing going into it for us. The Thursday stream was very much a typical BullShooter stream, which had me worried a little bit. Not that it's a bad stream or anything like that, but just that raising that level. If it's us on ESPN, we hope that the level of production's raised from what we normally do too. But I thought that they accomplished a big time. I thought that they did not think about that ESPN ticker in the way for the averages there. I know that's going to be something that people said some stuff about. I thought Gordon and DJ with the ESPN commentator did fantastic. I'm going to say it. They raised to a whole new level of their game, and I was the first person to tell Gordon that when I saw him that next weekend for the CDC event. But yeah, I thought he did great. I thought the team there did a fantastic job.
Yeah, for that third person to kind of implement himself in there and know at least enough to get his way around the board per se. That can be tough for a person who maybe has never seen the sport to wrangle in the information they need, but I thought he did a great job. I think there was a couple moments where you could tell there was a little bit of a button up against words moments, but that's going to happen when you're used to two people and then you add in the third person. It can be a kind of a slippery slope, but I thought it was a fantastic job commentary-wise. You're right about the ticker. I honestly didn't think that was a big deal myself because when they did the behind-the-shoulder shot, you were able to see that. And I honestly would have liked them to take the board out of the way in that thing and just leave it as an open deal. Kind of enjoy the full board and that over-the-shoulder shot. I think that was a nice shot. But, I mean, it was a work in progress. I think that they had a short amount of time to do this. And honestly, for what arose from it is pretty nice. And based on the length of legs, I mean, it was perfect for a 1 hour slot.
Yeah, I mean, it could not have ended any more perfectly. You got a little interview with Alex Spellman at the end on top of it for that last little 2 minutes there, which was awesome. I just remember watching the wiffle ball right before that, and it was tie ball game 4-4 in the fourth inning or something. They're like, all right, that's it, hour's up. Let's go watch some darts now. I just feel like as a competitor or a part of that production team, that would eat me up inside. That it was just like, all right, it's over, let's move on.
Yeah, it was unfortunate that happened, but that's kind of how things go when you're dealing with an ESPN production. They're very strict on their time-wise. I was happy that we did get the little prequel, the little introduction to Gordon DJ and about the sport, what to expect, and then to move on into the match. That was nice, and then to get that little bonus small interview with Alex was really nice. Thoughts on the format, just to get strict here. Thursday's format, it wasn't perfect. I would have loved to see a round robin, honestly. That's something you don't see a lot in the soft tip side of things, but I would have loved to see that. I think it would have been great, or at least a best of 7 or a best of 9, kind of working your way into the finals. But, I mean, with that 1 hour slot, like we said, the 5s worked out great and the best of 7 worked out great, I thought.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would say that Thursday's format was not perfect. The fact that they played it all the way through, even once they had the top 4, I thought was a little bit weird. Mm-hmm. I understand they did it for seeding, but that also could have played into almost they could pick their seeds at that point in time if they wanted to be the 4 seed, taking on whoever ended up with the 1 seed. They could kind of play that game a little bit, which I thought was a little bit weird. But I agree with you. Round robin would be awesome. I agree with you that just having a bracket, single elimination bracket, having 4 little tiers there and just going. Yeah, I could get unlucky with you matching up with some of those big dogs, which we saw. Jeremiah Millar, Soldier, they had tough tests early and often, and they just got beat. But other than that, I really just enjoyed the build up to it. Over 2K people watching the entire time pretty much. I thought was awesome. The 9 darter from Randy Fern. How about that?
Yeah, that was great, and especially in the last leg decider when you really need it. It was great to see that happen at least once. I would have loved to seen it happen on the ESPN side of things, but I can understand why it didn't. I mean, you're talking a lot of nerves there, I'm sure, with those with each of those gentlemen that stepped to the Aki for that ESPN top 4. But I didn't like the loser start as well. I thought at least alternate would have been a way better side of things, but I mean, they kind of rushed things, I think, to get into the time slot. I think maybe they got the opportunity or heard the opportunity a little bit late, and maybe that's why they kind of rushed into everything. And I would have loved to seen maybe next year a 16-player field that's already decided and accepted their invitations, and then why not build qualifiers based on your events that you already hold? So have a qualifier and get 2 or 3 people per, probably 2 people per BullShooter event, and then there's your field right there for next year. What's your thoughts on that, Sean?
I love that idea. I think that with regionals happening with BullShooters all over the country, I think that that's a fantastic idea, honestly. I think you hit the nail right on the head. The top 16, whoever they want to invite as their invitees, I think should be invited. It's their production after all. But yeah, I totally am on board for that. As long as they make sure the format's the same as what it's going to be for the event, they don't change that. It's a qualifier tournament. They know it's an extra event that's on a different day or whatever. But yeah, I think that gives the best opportunity and the least amount of critical looking at the hey, why'd they make it? Because they earned it, because they won one of those spots. I think that's huge. That'd be a huge advantage of BullShooter, especially with the regionals already going on.
Yeah, that's just my mindset. Maybe they could think about that for the future. Some critiques or what we didn't really like about it. I was talking to Leonard Gates at Music City, and he said, the boards that you saw on Thursday was the boards that you got. I would have liked to see a couple extra practice boards maybe for those shooters to lean on a little bit, to get their legs in between, or their darts in between those legs. Cheney was the only player to not lose twice. That was kind of a cruddy deal, I thought. He only lost that one time, and he did it in that first match on ESPN. And then I didn't like that it was on the Ocho. I mean, yeah, it's great, it's a spot, but it was kind of wrangled us into some goofiness, and I think we could all agree about that one.
Yeah, for sure. The Ocho thing, it honestly, it put a little bit of a damper on the whole event altogether. You got breakdancing going on right next door. We were on in between wiffle ball and formerly known as Quidditch, was on afterwards. It just seemed like 1 + 1 didn't equal 3 there, if you know what I'm saying. But it was still viewed, and it's still been replayed. And that's the beauty of it, is that people are still getting darts on their TV. I'll take it.
Yeah. And that's what I kind of had as something that I really liked about it. We're constantly just today they had a replay of it. We're constantly seeing those replays in good time spots. So I didn't like that it was on the Ocho, but we're seeing those replays when it matters. And every replay that's shown is another person that could possibly see our sport and get involved. So that side of things really is something that I liked. It was a great show for our sport. The production was good. Not the biggest crowd, but the way that it was done, honestly, the crowd was pretty. It looked like there was a lot of people there for that event, and I'm glad that some of those 32 players stopped and said we're gonna go to this event right afterwards and enjoy the top 4 as well and cheer them on at the event. So there's nobody in the stands. That was great. So there's at least nobody in the stands. There we go.
Right. No, that was awesome, and for them to all kind of come together to do that, especially some of those guys that ended up at Music City later that day or that next day. Same thing. It was really cool to see them kind of support each other, because they all wanted to experience that too. But even if they're not playing, they're all friends. Like, all those top guys are friends with each other. They're all rooting for each other. They're at least friends with one of the people that are playing in it. And it's hard not to be friends with those 4 guys. They're all fantastic humans. So yeah, man, it was really cool to see. It was cool to see some of those other sports, like the players from their sports. I forget which one I really saw that was highlighted by that other sport, which is pretty cool. But yeah, he was in the stands celebrating 180s and having a good time too. And he was quite the character, I believe, in the crowd. But it was awesome. It was great. It was great all around.
Yeah, I think that one person would be an air guitarist. There was a couple air guitarists hanging out, enjoying the show. So it's nice to see that little multi-sport mingle there. And yep, that was a sport there. But before we go on, how about a little word from the winner of the BullShooter event, Mr. Alex Spellman?
Well, there's no denying the atmosphere you're in with the lights, the camera people, the crowd behind you. It's totally different than even at Alexander Powell's stage or something like that. It's got to be a little bit nerve-wracking, but to succeed, it must feel nice.
You know, the TV part of it didn't bother me. It was wanting to, like I said, it was the pressure of playing good for everybody. And I think actually Baggage mentioned something like that for the PDC stuff. He was the lone American. He had a lot of pressure playing for the U.S., not necessarily for him or even it being TV, not to speak for him if I misunderstood that, but In high school, I played on TV. College basketball, our state championship game was on. It never bothered me. In fact, it's I almost liked the. I don't want to say like the attention, but I like the chance to kind of show off my ability a little bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I loved it. I love that my wife really travels with me just because it's expensive and dog sitting, and honestly, sometimes I get bored sitting around waiting to play a match, and she doesn't play, so I can only imagine. So it was great to have her there. Great for the crowd. I'm glad that all the guys there were highly competitive, and even though there may be some things online that seem to say otherwise as far as how supportive we were of each other, who should have been invited, whatever, if you were in that room, I saw stress from people I've never seen nerves from, even in high pressure situations. Everybody there, we didn't care it was the Ocho. We all took it super serious. It was awesome. You could run the same, and I said online, I know I won this time. You could run the exact same bracket and you'll have a different four almost every time.
Well, there we go. A quick word with Alex Spellman. You can catch the full interview in the links below. So, yeah, I mean, it was nice to hear from Alex there about his time on ESPN. He also mentions like Music City and his great match with Danny Lobby, which we have a highlight of for a little bit later. But yeah, that's where we're going to go into next. Music City Classic. Wow, man, let me tell you what. The Igloo was it was awesome. It was awesome. Well, looks like we need to get Sean his mute button off.
Well.
There we go.
Man, let me try that again. Man, I will never forget. You know, like when you jump into a pool for the first time and that rush of cold hits you? That's exactly like being in an igloo, but that feeling just never leaves, and you never get used to it. You gotta love it, man.
Oh man, it was honestly they did have some issues the year before where the AC unfortunately gave out. They had some elevator issues, some other issues as well. So this year they really came back strong. Let me tell you what, quite the facility, quite the hotel. And the venue, I mean, it was a great venue. Yeah, it was a little bit cold, but you can always put those layers on and kind of layer up when you need to. Honestly, it was a great tournament. It was a fantastic tournament. The Greater Nashville Darting Association really outdid themselves, I think.
Yeah, man. It was great from the top to the bottom, man. The guys announcing all the players, who's playing, all that stuff. He was fantastic with the accent that he put on every little thing that he did. To the rest of the staff was so helpful and nice. The hotel staff needs to learn how to do live stream in the background when they're trying to back up a like large equipment item while we're doing the finals of an event. But that's okay. I digress. But no, I was wearing sweatpants and a sweatshirt on Sunday. And I will take that every day of the week, the igloo over the heat stroke, 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, we did have every once in a while the stray worker in that little area that would come in there and make a little rack or two, probably not knowing that we were there, but that's quite all right. But overall, it was a fantastic event. The darts were definitely there, some high-quality matches, and actually we'll go ahead and show you one right now in the background as we throw a little highlight underneath us. It was Danny Lobby versus Alex Spellman in that men's singles 501 final. This final had it all, man. We were on the edge of our seats from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, look at that average there from Danny. It's already 2-0. He's averaging 111 at that point. Alex raises that average up tremendously throughout the match, too. But whoever won this match earned it. That is hands down for sure what happened there. You can see the Magic Man in the background with Alex's wife Jessica in the background too. I want to make sure that I let everyone know that I remember that name. Hey, there's 120 done the conventional way, bud.
Yeah, the conventional way, because here in a minute, for those following us on Facebook and YouTube for our live version of the podcast, you'll be able to see Danny goes an interesting way. And look at this 124 check. It was fantastic.
Yeah, just a little nod to the gods there as soon as he takes it out. And look at this 136 from Spellman. I mean, you ain't a wolfing when you said that this match had everything. Dan even just nods when he hits it. He's like, "Yep, for sure. Here it is."
Oh, if he would have hit that, we would have been nuts. But how about this? To follow it up, there was the 120 attempt. We didn't go anywhere. We didn't cut from this. This was the follow-up. Big trip 20.
Yeah, the very next shot.
Trip 17 for the bull for a 161. Just outside. My goodness.
I love how close that actually was, and how upset Alex was at the end of the day. That's my favorite part of that.
Exactly. I mean, that was the thing is Alex, they were both in that mood where you almost felt like nothing could miss, and every little inch or every little millimeter felt like a mile for both those guys. They just felt they had the darts to win that event. And well, you can go ahead and check out the full video linked below, so go check that out after our podcast here. But definitely that was the highlight for me, was that match. I think you would agree with that. But we did get to stream the CDC match play as well, which was a fun event. Jason Brandon and Jeff Springer ended up in that final. Nice little bonus coverage. That was a fun one.
Yeah, and we got to see the youth events, the evolution tours all weekend long too, and those we'll call them kids, were phenomenal. It was cool to get them into the booth, have a chat. Connor Olson, a great kid, 13-year-old. We got Caden Anderson to talk like a dinner. That was nice. PJ Stuart in there for a bit. The Juggernaut, Joey Lenal, got to talk to him for a bit. Man, Jason Brandon, got to talk to him more than I ever have before, with him becoming the match play champ. What a nice guy. Hands down one of the nicest humans you could ever meet. Do you agree with that?
There's so many. I mean, just singling out Jason, but there's so many. All those kids you mentioned too. Every one of them stepped into the booth area and was like, "Hey, what's going on, guys?" They're wanting to check out the production too, because they want to be a part of everything. They don't just want to be a part of the darts that they're throwing. So that's nice to see those guys get in the kind of the production mood, seeing what's going on in the back area as well. I enjoyed that one. But yeah, I would have to agree. Jason Brandon, top notch dude. Same with Joe Chaney. Something about that Tennessee water, I'm guessing.
Oh, absolutely. Joe Chaney definitely needs to work on the wardrobe choice with the socks and shoes combination he had late in the weekend. Thankfully, that was not on ESPN. Jeff Springer, again, great weekend as well. All of those Galaxy Dart Brokers players all performed brilliantly, and then it carried over to the CDC that next week, which we'll talk about. But Larry Butler in the final with Spellman there on Sunday. Spellman just continued the domination, honestly. Got a win, a second place, and then 2 top 4s, I believe.
Yeah, it was something. It was something around there. And then how about him and Larry Butler also in that doubles? I mean, they threw a 120 average in the final of the doubles event.
How crazy is that? How crazy is that?
That is insane, is what it is. And then just to mention this as well, Robin Curry and Callie West pulling the double dip on both women's doubles events. So shout out to those ladies, as well as Liz Tynan winning her second NAWDA NAWDA qualifier. So congrats to her as well. Overall, just a great tournament, and these numbers speak for themselves. I mean, overall 180s. How about this? 235 with 397 players. Just to give you a couple tournaments as well, Virginia Beach 197 with 423 players, and then Las Vegas Open 185 180s with 392 players. That just speaks for itself right there, buddy.
Hey, apparently those cold conditions are conducive to power scoring and big numbers. So if you're ever running an event, make sure to just drop down that heat to about 55 if you can. If it's not a nice freezer in there, if you're not going to keep your beverage cold just by setting it down on the table, then get out of here with that, you know?
I like your mindset there, buddy. I really do. But that's going to conclude our little talk about the Music City and CDC match play. We'll end it right there. How about that? But how about this? If you like the hat that I'm wearing today, you can get yourself one, and this is actually our Flex Fit versions. So head on over to our website and get yourself a nice hat, whether it's Flex Fit or the snapback that I'm wearing right now. Moving into our next topic, CDC weekend number 3. You were there, buddy, Mr. Commentator. What'd you think?
I thought that a lot of the same stuff that we had been seeing the previous couple weeks, kind of still the trend continued. I know Jeff Springer had a great weekend. Alex Spellman made 2 finals, and a semifinal was his 3rd event that weekend. Jacob Taylor, David Cameron leaving right off after CDC weekend number 2, both picking up more titles. They actually went back and forth on their top of the Canadian Order of Merit there between events 7 and 8. And then how about Larry Butler? I mean, coming from first time since 2017, man, winning a CDC title for that event number 9. He's 9-1 in finals on the CDC tour.
That's right, 9th CDC title, folks. That I think is the top notch right now. I think he's the number 1 holder. Yep. Number 1.
Oh, absolutely.
And I wanted to mention this as well. I mean, we saw some great stuff. Jacob Taylor, Alex Spellman, 90 and a 93 average. We saw a 91 and a 90 between Larry Butler and Danny Baggish. But something that I pointed out in that first event, 14 players with an 85 average or higher. In the 3rd event on the weekend, 7 players in the 90s, 12 85 or higher. So that just tells you right now that gone are the times where the U.S. and Canada are looked at as those 80 shooters, mid-80 shooters. No, we're seeing those 90s regularly now in the CDC events.
Yeah, I mean, how crazy is it, dude? Matt Campbell was 0-3 that CDC weekend number 3. Danny Lobby Jr. 0-3. Soldier, I think, was 1-3. I think he won 1 match total. How crazy is that? You're seeing these top level guys just running into buzzsaws themselves early in these CDC events. It's really awesome to see. I would be remiss if I didn't shout out the fact that Alex Bellman went 7 into a 9-darter on our live stream. I believe in event number 2 for that weekend. Hit a big fat 3 though afterwards. We're not going to talk about that though. And then Larry Butler on the floor went 8 into the 9-darter in event number 2 as well for the weekend. And that one had the entire floor in the other room, from what I was told afterwards, completely shut down to where everyone knew what was happening. Everyone was waiting for it, and he got a huge ovation. Even though he missed into the big 9, it was right there on the wire between that and the double 12, so he gave a good dart at it too. But man, that would have been a couple other special moments for that CDC weekend. But it was a good weekend. Indianapolis, shout out to that American Legion post. They do phenomenal work. The food and drinks are great and cheap. We didn't hear a bad complaint about that place the entire weekend, except for how close the commentary was to the players. But it's a work in progress. I'm loud.
That's going to happen. We've had it happen with us every once in a while where they can just hear that little peep of what you're saying. So you just try to keep it a little bit dull. But no, I mean, for me, it was great darts on the TV. For me, I really enjoyed the weekend. I think the crowd would have went nuts if we would have seen, I believe, would have been our first CDC floor event 9-darter. I think we've had one, and that was in the online series. That was Sean Brenneman. So yeah, that was. I think we would have been thrilled to hear that one happen, but we'll have to wait just a little bit longer. Moving into our rankings, as things kind of get close to rounding off here. We got one more weekend left, and that's going to be in Canada, Waterdown, right?
Yep, it's in Waterdown, right outside Toronto again. Only Waterdown's more on the southwest side of Toronto, whereas where we were for the first weekend, that's more northwest side, if I'm not mistaken. So a little bit more coast-like. Of course, it's on the lake coast, I guess, but still, I'll take it.
Hey, we'll take it. So going into our CDC rankings here, for the USA, Danny Baggish with 84 points, Leonard Gates with 69, Alex Spellman with 54, and Larry Butler with 50. So what stands out there is we all know that Leonard Gates already has a spot secured in the World Championship. So it's Danny Baggish and Alex Spellman really fighting out for this one. But Alex Spellman's really going to have quite the weekend in Canada to make a World Championship debut.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. They get 18 points for winning the tournament. So if you think about that, the maximum points that Alex could win, there's 36 points, which, yes, does give him 90. However, that would also include Danny just not getting any points all weekend long. And if we know Danny, like we know Danny, he's gotten those 84 points by not just winning events. He's only won one, but he is consistently in semifinals, finals, top eights. He's rarely out early in a tournament. So you can fully expect Danny he's kind of running away with that U.S. Spot, which is exciting, honestly, for the U.S. darts. Spellman is going to be a lot more difficult next year to hold that down, especially with the PDC, CDC rules now. But yeah, the Canadian spot is the one that's really, really intriguing, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, we'll get right into it here. The Canadian spot, David Cameron, 76 points. Jacob Taylor, 66 points. John Newman Jr. and Matt Campbell at 48. So, I mean, essentially all those players are kind of still in the mix, but it's really leaning towards David Cameron or Jacob Taylor. It would be kind of crazy to see potentially Jacob Taylor and Alex Spellman kind of come out of nowhere and step up and make the run into the World Championships. Although you just said it, I mean, it's going to have to be quite the run for Alex to do that. But yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, Alex would just need a lot of help from Danny in order to even have a shot at it, and then he would still have to dominate. Because you can't get second place in one of those three events. So I just don't see that as a very probable thing that's going to happen with how strong the field is. But David Cameron, Jacob Taylor, 10 points decided between three events is a very close battle. And we've seen both of them. Jacob Taylor's won 2 events this season. Cameron's won 3. And either of those guys are so intriguing as potential World Championship spots to where I don't think anyone who would draw either of those two guys would be excited about it, with how David Cameron's been having success overseas, and then Jacob Taylor is the truth, man. And he will hammer and power score with the best of them.
Yeah, well, sorry for the hot hand tonight. I guess I got a quick button push here from Will, so my apologies, Sean.
You're just trying to get it to not point out the fact that it says Will Hart's the notebook in the background.
That's it. As people have already let me know, you got something in the background for me. Golden. But yeah, I would love to see a little interesting battle into that last event. One could only hope, but we'll see how it plays out for CDC weekend number 4. Some mentionables that I did want to mention. Gates also has a spot in the Grand Slam, as well as the World Series Finals, which Danny Baggish, as well as Jeff Smith, will be in attendance for. So something to mention there. And I also want to mention this. I think Danny knows it, and I'm going to go ahead and say it here. Danny has, if he's going to retain his tour card, he's going to have to win this CDC spot through the World Championships and go deep into the World Championships. And he's the guy that can do it. He has the confidence. He's got that mindset. I would love to see him do it and retain his card. So that's something that I'm just going to mention. Maybe you'll see it, maybe you won't. Yeah, who knows?
No, it's a good storyline to really pay attention to, and we want him to retain that tour card more than anything else. And I know that that's his main goal, besides making a deep run of the World Darts Championship, which he, of course, wants to do. I'm sure that that's part of the reason why he wants to be sure that he is a part of that. And he's looking at all that stuff. He's paying attention to what he needs to do. He's got some other opportunities, the World Series finals, if he makes a real deep run there. There's some other stuff that he can really kind of step up his game with. But yeah, you're right. The World Championship is going to be a big deal to him for multiple reasons.
Yep, I certainly think so. And we'll kind of get more into the Pro Tour now, as we've got a little bit to talk about after this weekend now. The PDC has been in, the Southern Hemisphere, playing in Australia as well as New Zealand, making those World Series runs. Queensland Darts Masters winner, Mr. MVG, pulling off that win. And then, a little bit away, as I say a little bit, Australia is massive, way more massive than I thought it was. It was in the New South Wales Darts Masters, Johnny Clayton pulling off that win. And then in New Zealand, the Darts Masters champion was Gerwin Price. So some wins there throughout that series in August. Some good darts being thrown down there, especially by some of the locals. I think we... I forget, didn't write his name down, and I should have. The guy that beat Fallon yesterday, young kid. He was he's only like 20 years old. And I should have wrote his name down, but I didn't.
Too. I wish I would have watched more of this. It was on at like a weirder time than I'm used to, so I didn't keep track of it as much for these three, which is annoying to me because these are some of the top competition these guys are going to see. But I do love the fact that there were three different winners. That just tells you kind of where darts is kind of at right now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, is it's anybody's game. I mean, whether there's one really standout favorite or world number one, and Gerwin Price, which he did take a title, there's no real standout player. Anybody could win at any given day. We've seen the numbers add up. We've really seen those averages explode over the last 4 or 5 years, really into the point where on floor events, it could be anybody. It doesn't have to be a named player that we all know. It could be someone that just happens to be there to fill a spot.
Like Scotty Williams.
Yep.
To win one of those as an alternate player who doesn't even have his PDC tour card, that's how cool those floor events can really be. And I don't know if you want to move on to this quickly, but the women's floor events that we just had is the complete opposite of what I just said was exciting about the men's. I'm almost more excited with how dominant Bo's first performance in the women's series was.
Yeah, exactly. Just a quick mentionable, Danny Jansen was another one that kind of got his guy we've seen here in the States a little bit with Jules Van Doggen. But yeah, let's get right into it. I mean, the dominance that Bo displayed this weekend was, let's just be honest, it was kind of scary, because she came into the women's series, her first events of the women's series. She's kind of been holding back, playing other events, playing the WDF side of things. Man, oh man, I am so excited for how this women's series ends after event number 20.
Yeah, I know that you're going to mention this. There's 4 events left and only 1,000 points separating the second spot and the top 2, and that gets a spot in the World Darts Championship. And Bo against these pros will be difficult on them. She's unflappable, dude. It's crazy.
Well, just to mention some of these averages here, she played 3 times against Mikuru Suzuki. It was nice to see her have a good weekend as well. I did want to mention that. Nice to see her getting back into the flow of things. She played 3 finals between her. It was an 85, a 94, and a 95 average for Bo. For Mikuru, it was a 78, 88, and 92 average. And then in the last event, it was a 5-3 win over Eileen de Graaf, and it was an 83 average compared to Eileen's 75. But listen to these event averages. This is the thing that stood out to me. And she was a good 6-7 points ahead of everybody else. Event averages, 84, 86, 87, 78. She was first in all those except for the last, which she took second to Eileen, who she played in the finals and did beat. So some eye-popping numbers there, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, listen, of course that 4th event, you're going to be a little bit tired after throwing and making all of these finals, right? So obviously that average is going to drop a little bit, but talk about that first event on Sunday. An 87.5 average for the entire event is maybe 4th, 5th best, 6th best on the CDC event. Which, I mean, Bo knows. We might as well restart that whole campaign, right? Nike get involved here, because Bo Graves is going to be a superstar. She'll be the first that really, I think, competes with the men on a more consistent basis. I know none of the other women are excited to see her play in these PDC events now, because to the first of many, to say the least, her throw is so beautifully smooth. She never celebrates a big hit either. It's like she's been there, done that so many times that she's always just like, yep, expected it. And that's the mark of a champion. She's going to be, she's won 14 times this year in WDF and PDC ranking events. 14 titles.
Wow. Well,
Isle of Man World Championship, Welsh Open, Dutch Open, Romanian Open, English Open, Australian Darts Open. Then the PDC Women's Series, 14, 15, 16, and 13.
Well, something that we'll get into the nitty-gritty here, because this is going to get interesting, because we all know Fallon is down in New Zealand right now. Well, that series is wrapped up. She's been on the World Series. She's played in these Women's Series events before, didn't play in this weekend because she was down in New Zealand. So she currently sits at $5,800 on the Order of Merit. Bo now sits at $4,000. So this gets really interesting when it comes down to these last 4 events. If Bo can overtake Fallon, she will earn a spot into the World Championships next year, and that is a scary thing if you're the PDC, because the PDC has worked an awfully lot to put, let's say it, value into Fallon's name, which she did for herself. She did a lot of that for herself, but the PDC is definitely adding a little bit into that as well. So it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out, because if Bo gets up, there's no stopping Lisa. Lisa's already locked in, let's be honest. So it's fighting it out for that second spot. And man, oh man, it could get interesting, because final stat for you. I checked the World Series complete table line. Bo Greaves is number 1 right now in the rankings. 84 average for her. The next 2 that follow her up, Fallon Sherrick with an 81, Lisa Ashton with an 81. So, man.
Let me ask you this question. Do you think the PDC would rather have Fallon in the World Darts Championship, or do you think that they would rather have Bo, the 18-year-old phenom who has been dominating all women's events this year, as far as like who they would want to represent that with the best chance to really break some glass ceilings, so to speak?
That's a very, very tough question. And I think it's almost more complicated than I want to get into, because there's a lot that could be said that could get us into trouble here, let's be honest. But that is a very good question, because let's be honest, Fallon has already beat a man on the PDC stage at the World Championships. That's got a lot of value to it. She's already made her name across the world. She's got a lot of followers on all her platforms. Bo, not so much. She's young. I know Fallon's shy, but Fallon's not shy when it comes to media. I think Bo is still very shy when it comes to media because she's still so young. I think there's definitely added value to having Fallon as the face, or even Lisa as the face. I like to see her get a little bit more nod of approval from the PDC. Let's be honest. I think she's been left to hang a little bit. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't either. It's going to be interesting to see what happens those Final Four events. Are we sure that Fallon is going to be able to play in those? Because if she's not, then I do give the heavy favorite to Bo at that point.
Yeah.
Because you just saw Bo dominate this one. I don't think Lisa shows up because she doesn't need to. And then you're left with Mikuru and Eileen again. And I just don't know if they're going to be enough to stop Bo from winning these titles if she continues at this level.
I agree. It's a scary thought. What could happen here in the next years with the women's game? I mean, and just to put the number out there, and this is a little bit push for us here in the U.S. I told you, Sean, I was going to mention. I'm going to go ahead and mention it. There's definitely a discrepancy here between the players that we're seeing overseas playing in these women's series and the darts we're seeing here in North America. We have got to find a way to push the women's game a little bit harder here in North America because we're seeing the rise in the men's game. But just to show you where we're at, I mentioned those averages in the women's series. A lot of these top players are going to be mid-70 averages. Well, where we're at currently for LVO, 68 average, Cherry Bomb 62 average, Music City 59 average. Those are your top singles averages in our women's events. So there's definitely a little discrepancy there. I'd love to see some of those ladies go overseas, but they got to realistically have a shot at least making some money.
Right.
And I think we're not quite there yet. We need to find a push and get them there. What do you think, Sean?
I would agree. I would agree with that completely. You know, you have the DPFL, the DP Chicago, DP NY leagues. Why isn't there I don't even know if this exists or not, but like a ladies version of that with those top shots ladies to do a long format type of league that would help them, or something more CDC like for the women. You know, just throw them 4 events, 8 events like the Evolution Tour and the Youth Tour do. You know, I think that those things would help. It would help build competition. It would help bring players to playing in a lot more of those long formats. I think those averages will go up because of it.
I think that we are seeing a rise in the play, but it's not as substantial as we've seen in the men's game. I do think there's platforms out there like DPFL that does have a women's league. There's other smaller platforms, but I'd like to see a broader stage. I'd love to see, I mean, maybe Carly will kill me for this, but I'd love to see a women's CSC Challenger Series. And I'd love to still see some of those ladies compete with the men, like your Chrissy Grimmel in Division 2. But we have to find a way to get more ladies involved, increase the competition here in North America for this to really get better.
I agree, but the fact that 2 young 30s males are talking about this as a problem that needs a solution that we're all for, I think is a good step to that. You know, I think that we all see it. We all want it. We want to have the best youth. We want to have the best under 24. We want to have the best top level pros, and the best women. You know, we're Americans after all, North Americans. We should have the best of everything.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if we can get there. I think we can. Let's start brainstorming. Let's figure it out. Let's come up with a plan that maybe gets that just add a little push if there is one. I still see that there's a lot of good players, and I think that a lot of good players that have been playing for a while, but just that little added push can go miles. We'll see. But coming events here for the Pro Tour World Series final, that's going to be September 16th through the 19th. So Leonard Gates, Danny Baggish, Jeff Smith are going to be playing in that one. Should be entertaining one as I look up when the next Women's World Series is as well. Belgium Open.
Interesting one there.
Yeah, Belgium Open for the Euro Tour. That's September 23rd through the 25th. So a couple events here in September before we go to the Grand Prix and the Grand Slam of Darts in November, which Grand Slam, we all know that Gates is a part of that. We'll see the top player from the women's series involved in that one as well.
So that'll be Lisa Ashton, most definitely, unless she can't make it for whatever reason. But I do like the fact that Gates will have the opportunity to possibly be over there for a month straight, if not more, to prepare for the World Darts Championship, which is, of course, in December. So that next big event is going to be that one. So that'll be kind of nice. I wonder what his schedule is going to look like there. You also have CDC event weekend number 4 in Waterdown, the 9th through the 11th, 10th and 11th of September, coming up as well. So I'm excited to kind of see how that plays out to get into the Continental Cup at the end of October for our tour finals. That'll be in Brooklyn this year, so that'll be great. Play some Beastie Boys like nonstop. Cannot wait for that. But yeah, the World Series final, man, to get to see 3 of our guys, to root for our hometown or our home country, continent players is always fun. It's always a great treat when we get that, and I like that it's happening more and more, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's nice to see more and more events. I mean, more and more streams getting around too. I mean, yes, we do streaming as well, and to an essence, the more streams kind of hurts us essentially on viewership, but at the same time, it broadens the horizon. There's so many more new people that are tuning in, and then it can expand that way. So really it helps out viewers rather than hurts us. So nice to get the game around just in every single way, both soft tip, steel tip. Darts is darts. I've always said that. I know you kind of feel the same way. Soft tip is heavily present here in North America. Let's be honest. It's very heavily present.
For sure. I think that there's a bit of a shift again to the steel tip side of things, which I'm excited to see. But I also still think that soft tip's always going to be kind of that. It's that every person's game because they do the math for them. Like it's the easier one to get into. It's the easier one to start if you're just starting out. So I get it. I really do. I started out playing soft tip for the first 6 years that I played darts before I even picked up a steel tip dart. So I'm right there in that same boat. Then you start playing steel tip and you realize just how much fun and more and challenging it is in a different way. But darts is darts. You're right.
Looks like we got somebody in the chat letting us know Matt Campbell will be there too. So I want to mention that as well. Kudos to Matt for getting that one. And then the Women's Series.
Oh, yes.
17th through 20th, or events 17th through 20 is going to be October 29th and the 30th. So those are those dates for you. Sorry, that took me just a second to wrangle in that info, but that's how it goes. Well, future events and coming events for steel tip, WADA, that's going to be Labor Day weekend. Yep. Blueberry Hill and Top of Texas. Blueberry Hill is a fantastic event, historical event, let's be honest. It's been there.
Yes.
There's so many photos on the wall. Maybe I'll make my first appearance at Blueberry Hill. We'll see.
There you go. As a player?
Yeah, we'll see. Because we do have a stream as well. For soft tip, PPD, DRTs, those daily remote tournaments, always participate in those. The CSC Challenger Series, which me and you commentate on every Monday and Wednesday night. Speaking of, tune in tomorrow. Tune in Wednesday. We'd love to see you here. We're live on the USA Darts page as well as the PPD platforms. So there you go. And then, this weekend we've got an event, Shark Tank. this is going to be a good one. It was a fantastic show last year with some really top shots attending, and wow, did we have some great post-match views. So looking forward to another Shark Tank shootout this weekend in Shawnee, Kansas. And then another event in Kansas City. Well, let's be honest, that Missouri-Kansas line. TOC,
Yeah, exactly.
Tournament of Champions, man. Me, you, Nick DeShera. This is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, we're gonna try out some cool stuff. We've had some great ideas on what we're gonna do for this, trying to make it as big and as amazing as we can, within the realm of being able to really produce a quality stream with the three of us. I'm excited, man. I think that we're gonna really up the game in streaming when we do TOC. Hopefully, that's the goal. I do also want to point out, for future events, upcoming events for WADA, we do have the Youth and Evolution Tour for the CDC is going to be there, as well as the 2022 AZ Darts CDC Congressional, which is a CDC Summer Series event. It's a UK style open or UK Open style event, so long format where they redraw the seeds each round. So you never know who you're playing in the next round. You just know you're getting one of the winners from the previous round, which is a really cool format. I'm really excited for that one, to see kind of how that does. But I did want to point out that those events will also be there for WADA next weekend.
Cool. Looking forward
so you got
to it,
soft
man.
tip and steel tip going on at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna be your choice, folks, of what you want to tune into. We definitely, of course, always encourage you to tune in to our platforms. But yeah, we understand that you're gonna have to mix and match. Maybe turn in that DC feed every once in a while and enjoy some of the WADA coverage as well. But that's gonna do it for us, man. What an episode! Right at about an hour already, man. That just seems to how it always works out. Right about an hour. Can't complain.
Hey, listen, when we're just a couple guys just hanging out, having a good time, talking some darts, it's always great. It's easy. It's easy to do. I will tell you, next weekend on September 3rd, I will actually be in Chicago for a Rammstein concert. So that'll be awesome. I cannot wait for that.
Well, du hast, buddy. Du hast. I like that. Enjoy it. Have some fun. We'll be at Shark Tank this weekend. Tune in for our coverage. Definitely going to be quite a fun one. So we'll see you folks there. We'll see you at TOC. As always, tune into our platforms, usadarts.live. Check out our merch. Check out all that good stuff. And we'll see you for the next episode of BullShooting Podcast down the road. Sean, appreciate it, man. Thanks for joining me once again.
Oh, always a pleasure, buddy. Thank you so much for having me, guys. Have an absolutely wonderful night. Thank you.
We'll see y'all later. Take care.